Hello everyone, and welcome to Biopedia, and to our first ever Darwin's Day episode. Darwin's Day is an international recognition of the anniversary of Darwin's birth on the 12th of February 1809. I thought it would be fun to write a special Darwin-themed episode for the anniversary. After all, biology doesn't really lend itself to special episodes at dates such as Christmas or New Year, so I thought I'd use some other anniversaries and traditions instead. If you know any other dates it would be interesting to host themed episodes about, feel free to let me know at the show's email address. So, with all that said, let's discuss the health of Darwin and his children, as well as the possible causes. Now, Darwin is a bit of a complicated figure in genetic terms. On the one hand, he's widely known for publishing On the Origin of Species and coming up with the theory of evolution. On the other, he married his own first cousin, Emma Wedgwood, which he was famously afraid would have a negative impact on the health of his children. He himself was not the healthiest of figures, as described in approximately 40 letters to his doctor, Dr. John Chapman. Among his many symptoms were hysterical crying, a nervous feeling when Emma wasn't around, and a singing in his ears. This apparently started when he was still at university, during which he suffered from tiredness and eczema. In fact, the serious seasickness he suffered from while aboard the HMS Beagle may have been connected to this. Added to that, Darwin's children were themselves quite a sickly bunch. His 5 surviving sons, William, George, Francis, Leonard and Horace, had 1.25 children per woman as an average, according to this paper. By comparison, their immediate Wedgwood relatives had 2.01, which indicates a rather substantial drop in fecundity. So, could there be some genetic cause behind all this? It has been suggested that Darwin had a mitochondrial mutation which could have led to these symptoms. As it is inherited, this would seem to explain the condition suffered by Darwin's older brother Erasmus, his mother Susanna Wedgwood, and his maternal uncle Tom Wedgwood. Tom's youngest sister, Mary Ann, seems to have been severely affected and died at the age of 8. Her symptoms suggest a condition called mitochondrial encephalomyopathy, lactic acidosis, and stroke-like episode syndrome, which is rather understandably shortened to MELAS, M-E-L-A-S. Darwin's mother, Susanna Wedgwood, and his grandmother, Sarah Wedgwood, both seem to have been affected by a condition. Her mother, Susan Earlham, also suffered from an illness, which could indicate that this was possibly around 3 generations before Darwin was born. Now, interestingly enough, Darwin's symptoms seem to have improved again as he moved into old age. The authors of the 2017 paper reason that this may be because mutated mitochondria might have died earlier, as they are at a disadvantage from a survival point of view, hence meaning their proportion decreased and his symptoms subsequently improved. However, it's time to throw a spanner in the works at this point. Both Darwin and his wife Emma were descended from Sarah Wedgwood and her husband Josiah Wedgwood I. However, Emma's descent was not matrilineal. Instead, it was through her father, Josiah Wedgwood II. Given that such a mutation can only really pass to the next generation via the female line, Darwin and Emma's children can't have inherited it from them. Now, as I just said, Darwin's children were reasonably sickly. As an example, the youngest son, Charles Waring Darwin, was born when Emma was 48 and showed signs of Down syndrome in the surviving photo we have of him. He would die at around 2 years old in 1858, perhaps due to the fact that babies with Down syndrome are more susceptible to infection. The illness of his children was complicated by what is likely the main cause of their illness, the close relationship of their parents. Darwin's family seems to have married into itself reasonably frequently. As you will hopefully be able to see on the family tree, Darwin's grandparents, the Wedgwoods, were themselves third cousins, both descendants of a man named Gilbert Wedgwood. There were also several other first cousin marriages at around about this time, but I'm not going to go into all of them here, so again, have a look at the tree on the website. However, it may have contributed to the sickliness of his children and the low fecundity we discussed above. This is also known as an inbreeding depression, whereby progressive inbreeding in a family leads to a loss of fecundity. Now, as of yet, the evidence for Darwin having had MELAS is circumstantial rather than direct. However, it is possible we will eventually get answers. After all, we have some hairs from Darwin's beard that have been positively identified. Who knows, one day we might yet know what secrets lie in the genes of the father of evolution. As always, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think of the idea of a Darwin's Day episode, and whether I should keep this going or do any more like it on different days. Otherwise, if you have any questions, comments, or episode topic suggestions, get in touch at biopediapodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, have a great week.